welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a stroke survivor and grateful recovering alcoholic. Today's topic is waking up with negativity. Why? Because I wake up every day for a hot second with negativity until I get logged into my 7 a.m. sobriety meeting. So I wanted to talk about that. And maybe we can figure out how we can not wake up with negativity. So this morning, I heard in my reading, we read from Spiritual Awakenings, which is a book associated with my sobriety program. And the reading said that we come into the world with our fists closed, and we learn how to open them. And so I was thinking about this idea, and I found on the internet lots of places that said this idea that we come into the world with our fists closed. There was all different ways that folks would say it. And everybody would use a play on words to analyze what that means in their lives and everything. And what I was thinking about personally was that over time, I learned how to close my fists again. I woke up with my fists closed. I was born with my fists closed. And then over time, as we get older as children, we learn how to open our hands and our hearts and our minds. And that's not only to be more open in general, but also to be helped and to help others. And then over time, kind of like what I was talking about a day or so ago, is we learn how to close ourselves back up again because things hurt. And I stopped reaching outside of myself to be helped and to help others. And in sobriety, as I've entered into recovery, I've had to learn how to accept help again, how to open my fists back up. So it may be just another way of talking about that openness that I talked about the other day. So then I went further to think about this idea of this happens every single morning, actually. It's like Groundhog Day for me. I wake up in the morning with my fists closed. And the reason I was thinking about this was this morning, before we even read the reading, I logged on, and there was one person in the meeting, and I said, I just love coming in here to this meeting because I wake up with negative thoughts every day. Sometimes they last a few minutes, sometimes they last a few hours, sometimes they last all day. But my best bet at beating them is going to my sobriety meeting and talking about openness and willingness and recovery and all of these positive things that I hear everybody talk about, how they practice the program in their lives and live life sober, live life in recovery, because recovery never ends. And so I just love it. I love starting my day that way, and I love doing it bright and early so that I can, before my brain even wakes up and tries to start processing the negativity and filing it away wherever it files it, I'm learning how to open my fist, open myself, subside those fears first thing every morning. And I wake up, I center myself in gratitude and hope first thing every morning. I think about my recovery from alcoholism and I apply it to my stroke recovery. I learn every morning or I learn and remind myself of accepting my disability and accepting all the detours that my life has taken that were unanticipated. So those that aren't consistent in recovery are the ones that appear to suffer the most. And a lot of times, in my experience, those are the ones that end up drinking again. And those are the ones that I find out later have passed away. The ones that go all in and they practice it in the beginning, they'll practice it for a month, the program, and then they just stop going as much to meetings, stop following through on all of the different aspects, calling their sponsor, reading the literature, my thing has been spending at least 20 minutes a day on the program, focused on the program, whether that means I'm listening to the big book, excuse me, or I'm in a meeting, or I call my sponsor. Sorry, I got all kinds of things happening. And so that keeps me consistent. It keeps me always reminding myself that I'm in recovery. And if I apply what I do in my sobriety program to my stroke recovery, then lately I can easily identify where I'm lacking consistency in prioritizing my brain health. Today and yesterday, the sharp pains have been back. Today, today I just kept squeezing my eyeballs, like waiting for it to go away, almost like a headache or a stomach ache might come for a minute and then it kind of subsides. That's what I was waiting for it to subside, but it wouldn't. It was just like, it was really a sharp pain in my head. And what this is a migraine, is what I've been told. And so I'm taking the migraine injections, and it seemed like they were helping, but I'm still having the pains, and I don't know that I'm doing anything. I don't know that I'm doing that much different. I know that when I start feeling better, I start trying to do things like a normal person, and then I can't, and I am reminded by having these terrible pains in my head. And I just keep wanting to be better and do things that others do, and I stray away from my voiceover. I stray away from taking naps until I end up with, miserable with a headache. And I wanted the migraine injections to make it all go away, but it didn't. Um, and it makes sense. I mean, of course it didn't. It's like taking Advil for a broken arm. It's, I have to learn that I'm broken, and I'm permanently broken. I have to learn that. And I will, I will. I'll learn that it's really difficult to accept this new normal, because some of it is is painful, and I don't know that I should. Well, of course, I shouldn't be in pain all the time. Um, so I just don't know. Restricting myself so that I'm not in pain. I'm trying to learn, and I have my ups and downs, and I'm at a down right now, unfortunately. It's like I need someone to shake me and wake me up. And I have a block against this acceptance. But what I was reminded of this morning, I keep saying what I was reminded of, what I'm learning, what I was reminded of, just bear with me because I'm trying my best to process everything in my life, and I know that by sharing this, somebody's listening and understands. I know that. I'm not unique. So, what I was reminded of this morning is that this acceptance or awakening, I think awakening is a good word for it. We were reading out of Spiritual Awakening, the book, and it talks about what a spiritual awakening is. And um, I really just like the word awakening because that is, I think, what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to awaken this new identity. Stroke Survivor Rachel version 3.0. And it's happening at its own pace. It's happening at the pace that it needs to. And I just have to keep showing up. I think that what I'm struggling with is what I shared since Friday about my long-term disability claim. I'm continuing to try to process that emotionally, that I'm gonna have to appeal and put in all of this work again, um, and I have lots of people talking to me about, well, this is what they do. It seems like you have to, nobody gets approved the first time around. And I, I just can't believe that. I can't believe that we pay for our insurance and that we can be denied when we need it. It's just terrible to me. It's absolutely terrible. And this isn't even this is just the beginning. This doesn't even have anything to do with Social Security disability insurance, like when that comes around, which would be right around the corner after this is all dealt with. So I think that's where some of the frustration is coming from, and that's making me be like, I don't like to say the F word on here, but screw it. Everything. That's what I feel like. I try to keep this PG a little bit. So I wanted to talk a little bit about waking up with negativity and anxiety and depression, because it seems like during the day I do a pretty good job of doing the work in my recovery and trying to shift my mindset and stay positive, and I can only control what's from my head and my heart to my fingertips. That's it. And I seem to do that pretty well, good days and bad days. But what I can't seem to stop is waking up feeling 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 everything feeling everything, like without its clothing on. Like my feelings with their clothing on would be my positivity and my open-mindedness and my willingness and everything. When I wake up in the morning, I haven't gotten put on, my feelings haven't gotten dressed yet. They're naked. and they're just vulnerable, and it makes me sad and it makes me scared. That's what I wake up with. So I learned a little bit about why this happens, and I learned some techniques for how to manage it. So I'm going to share those today. I know I'm not the only one. I learned then about how you can help yourself. So I heard these techniques from a YouTuber named Mel Robbins. You may have heard of her. She's like a best-selling author and a podcaster. And all of her episodes, it really reminds me a lot of the topics that I talk about. I think hers ranges way more on the spectrum of just life, what we deal with in life, from boyfriends to, waking up with anxiety to you name it. I haven't looked into all of these about Mel Robbins type of deal. She has a website and everything, melrobbins.com. So, but I did subscribe to her on YouTube because she must have just hundreds of videos. I don't know, maybe even thousands. I'm not sure, because I run across her constantly on YouTube. And so this is what she said about waking up with anxiety. So she talked about the 5-second rule. She said that if you have, this is what I heard from what she said, is if you have something like anxiety that you wake up with, use the 5-second rule. That means count down from 5. And if you are still feeling that feeling, to get up, get out of bed, start moving. So this aligned very much with what I have been talking about, where take a step forward, do the next right thing. This kind of movement, take one step forward, inevitably leads to action. It's the beginning of momentum. So when I talk a lot about that feeling of not wanting to get up and go to a sobriety meeting, I would turn my wanter off and just get up and take one step forward, and that will lead to another step. Next thing you know, I'm putting on my shoes, and then I'm picking up my keys, and then I'm in the car, and then I'm at my meeting. So she talks about the 5-second rule is to just get up and start moving. Take one step is how I translate that. The next thing she said is talk to your anxiety. Figure out, why is it that you're anxious? Is this, my translation is this anxiety like a secondary emotion on the emotional color wheel that I talk about? Where did it start? And sometimes that can be difficult to identify, but when you wake up with it, it's usually so bare and naked that you can figure out early on in the morning what it is that's causing it, what is the root cause of it. So talk to it, talk to the anxiety, figure out, why are you here? Number 3 is, again, keep moving your body. She says put on your exercise clothes. That's what you should do. Put on your exercise clothes. And she says number 4, make your bed. I don't make my bed. I want to make my bed, but I've yet to actually follow through and make my bed. I've been hearing this for over 7 years in my sobriety program, that we should all wake up and make our bed. Mel talks about it being a gift to yourself, that when you go to bed at night, you're going to have this like perfectly made bed ready for you to lie in. The whole concept is fantastic. I just don't make my bed. I never have. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. I'm not a worse person because I don't make my bed, but anyway, I know lots of people do make their bed, and I think that it's a great idea if I could get my ass together to do it. And then number 5, and this is the part that I like the most, is write down what's in your brain. So this reminds me of when I was driving into work every day. This is before my stroke, before COVID. I would have like this hour and a half drive into work and an hour and a half home. And I would have like my thoughts were just spinning and spinning. And I would get to work and I'd write down everything in my brain. And I talked about this like yesterday or the day before. I would write down everything in my brain so that I could get it out of me. And then that would make room for me to be able to start focusing on what I needed to prioritize, which is I'm at work. And then what Mel is talking about is the same thing, is write it down in the morning, all that stuff that's in your brain when you wake up. So I found that most of my spinning, my thought loops were when I got to work or on the way to work. So I needed to dump it when I got to work. But this idea about putting a notebook or a piece of paper beside your bed, for those of you who have fine eyes, you could type it into your notes on your phone or something like that. But get it out of your brain and into the world somewhere. Responding to your morning feelings is what I was thinking of, because she was talking about talking to your anxiety, responding to your anxiety. So this is the same thing. You're responding to those morning feelings of negativity. Don't ignore them and fall back asleep. That seems to be very much in line with her 5-second rule, which is count down from 5 and then get up. So don't fall back asleep. These are excuses for escape. And like yesterday, when I talked about sitting with your mistakes, like fill your bathtub up with it and soak in it long enough to squeeze out the lesson and the growth opportunity. These morning these morning feelings need action too. We have to wring them out to find out what they're made of. And so my favorite part of what Mel said is to write this stuff down. Make it tangible so that you can no longer avoid it. You can no longer say, it's all in my head, because it's not in your head anymore. You've gotten it out of your head. And again, I think Mel's techniques are the beginning of building momentum behind solutioning. So I dream a lot about negative things also. My dreams seem to perpetuate my fears, and that might be why I often wake up sad or anxious. I know that just recently I talked about not looking too far into your dreams, and I still believe that. So I'm going to see if I can articulate the difference between what I'm talking about now and what I talked about the other day. So the other day I was talking about, if I have a dream that I'm flying, I'm not going to look it up in a dream book and realize that means that, oh, if you dream that you're flying, that means that your relationship with your dog is in jeopardy or something like that. Like I'm not talking about looking into dreams to that extent. I'm just talking about kind of on the surface. Not what the dream is about, but what the dream makes me feel like, what the topic was, and what it made me feel like. So, for example, I have dreams a lot about my partner cheating on me. That's one of my dreams. I have it a lot. He knows that, but I also a lot have excuse me, dreams that my kids are being mean to me and ignoring me. They won't listen to anything that I say, and I'm crying and they're just like laughing at me. It's terrible. It's terrible, but I have this dream a lot. Excuse me for a second while I take a sip of my Coca-Cola. Okay, sorry. I had something in my throat. And just recently I had a dream. This was just a few days ago. I had a dream that I was divorcing my ex-husband again, which is weird, you know? Where does that come from? But I don't necessarily care about the details of the dream. I care more about the topic and what it made me feel like. So, I frequently have drinking dreams. I've talked about that. And even my latest vision impairment dream that I talked about recently. So my momentum in recovery pauses overnight. There's nothing, as far as I know, if I figure this out, I'll let you know. But as far as I know, there's nothing I can do for my recovery while I'm sleeping. The best thing that I can do is go to sleep at a reasonable time, go to sleep consistently at the same time, and, don't drink a bunch of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola before I go to bed so that I wake up and have to go to the bathroom, or have caffeine. Everything that I'm doing wrong right now. I heard this morning that I can't manifest beyond what I'm able to imagine. So I thought that that was really cool. It's very obvious in a way, but it's really cool to think about that my progress and my growth has a restriction, and that is my imagination. My dreams, I think, are resolving issues regardless of the momentum that I have during the day. So, because although my actions are driving consistency in my program, in my recovery program, my fears still exist. And that's why I have to look at those fears during the day and resolve them here in this, I'm going to call it a wake universe. So there's nothing I can do when I'm sleeping. Like I said, it's just prepare for sleep and be consistent about it. So my dreams, to me, I liken them to the upside down world in Stranger Things. It's like everything is identical, but there's often some kind of darkness to it. There's a darkness around it. There's a darkness that I feel when I wake up, when I think about whatever it was that I was dreaming about. And my dreams, which I've talked about in a few episodes, that I try not to analyze the heck out of them, are just stories that my brain is making up in my sleep universe, in the upside down world. So the topic of the dream is something that my brain is trying to resolve. The way that I resolve it in my dream is the part that I try to let go of. So those details of how my brain is working it out, and then it ends up being really strange when I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I dreamed that my daughter was riding a unicycle through the mall, and then she ran into a dog, and like something that doesn't make any sense. That's the stuff that I try to let go of. What I would remember is that I dreamed about my daughter, and it made me fill in the blank. It's just a story. But the topic is something that I'm holding on to that I need to look at in my wake universe. So write it down and think about if there are any fears related to that topic. If I'm dreaming about my daughter riding a unicycle through the mall and she runs into a dog, then maybe in my wake universe, am actually holding on to some fears about my daughter driving or something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to look at it on a surface level. It doesn't matter what happened, what she was driving and what she ran into. You know what I mean? So I have this reoccurring dream that I never graduated. I've had it for years now that that I never graduated from college. And so every so often it comes up in all different shapes and sizes, but the end result is always that I didn't graduate from college. And I'm pretty certain that I know what the problem is. And I'll tell you what it is. The problem is that I don't remember graduating from college because I was drunk. Um, the only thing that I remember is running across the campus because I woke up late and I was putting on my gown, and the ceremony had already started. And I'm running across campus, and my family is already standing in the grass. Like, everybody had already come in, and I had to like file myself into my seat, you know? Um, and I was panicked and I was sweating, and I don't remember walking across the stage or anything like that. And I'm quite certain that that's why I keep having this dream. So I think what I need to do is I have this big box of like pictures and uh, memories. It's called my memory box, and it's got like pictures of me growing up and high school stuff and college stuff, and then now I have my kids growing up and their high school stuff and college stuff. But I think what I need to do is just pull out my certificate, my bachelor certificate, and look at it, and I'll stop having that dream. So it I think it's a good example of why it doesn't matter what the dream is about. It's just the topic. That's an example of how I don't think it's really terribly helpful to analyze the details of a dream, but to look at just what is the topic that is reoccurring and how does it make you feel. So I also ran across today, sorry about my voice, I just keep having to clear my throat. I actually had to take a whole clip out of the episode where I was just like choking. So, anyway, sorry, I know it might be annoying. So there is a Stanford doctor that said that we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of what I think today is what I thought yesterday. So 90% of what I'm thinking today is a repeat from yesterday. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. Isn't that fascinating? I thought that was kind of cool. And I'm most certain that that can be adjusted if we work on it. But I thought that was interesting. So what I also learned is that I liked this whole concept that dreams are a state of unconditional acceptance. So while we're awake in my wake universe, I can resist things. I can, like I was talking about yesterday, I can ignore things, I can resist things, I can find creative ways to work around things. But in my dreams, I'm in a state of unconditional acceptance. There's no resistance there. So that's why in dreamland, in my sleep universe, that I dream all of these resolutions, because there are no limits to how I can resolve my issues in my dreams. And in my dreams, I can accept everything that happens. And I think that's why we have to practice reducing our resistance in our wake universe while we're awake. So it seems like more is revealed while I'm sleeping than I'm willing to look at while I'm awake. So I think it's a good recommendation to write down what your worries are when you wake up, so that you don't have to keep trying to understand these terrible dreams and diagnose yourself and figure out what the details of all of it mean. I think that what I'm going to try to do is look at the topics, especially the ones that are reoccurring, and take an action towards resolving that issue in my wake time. So I'm going to start by finding my bachelor's certificate to prove to myself while I'm awake that I did graduate and everything. I know that I graduated, like intellectually, I know that I graduated, because my whole family was there and I remember them saying congratulations. I just don't remember the actual ceremony, as sad as that is. I didn't even know that I was an alcoholic back then. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to approach that and see if I might be able to lessen a little bit some of those negative feelings that I wake up with. So again, sorry for the strange voice stuff tonight, but thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.